Florida. I have just moved here during the COVID-19 pandemic. And one of the items that I really got me involved in this was not only Adam's article, but one of the big things that got me involved is I've been seeing Phish for almost 3 decades now, and having to go through the lot in our scene and be an outsider to our group that I'm probably more inside than a lot of people was kind of concerning and disconcerting, but you kind of pushed it back in your mind. So to let everybody know that you don't have to be alone here, and the work that we're doing is not only going to improve our Phish community, but as we improve people in our community, it's going to improve the communities in which they live. It's going to improve our world. So, you know, social justice, racial equity is not something that lives in a vacuum. And it's not something you just practice when you want to practice it. It's a way to live. So I just wanted to say that. The other item I just want to let everybody know, this will be recorded, and we're going to keep this recording as one, our meeting minutes, but two, as posterity to look back and get notes from. So just to just let everybody know that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Adam and let him talk a little bit. Adam is our board president, and I'll give it to you.
Great. Yeah. So thank you so much, Malcolm. We're just going to, thanks so much for folks who are doing their intros in the chat. We're just going to do live intros for the board members and members of our Bypoc advisory committee, and then kick it to back to Malcolm for the rest of the agenda. So my name is Adam Liaz. I'm calling in from Washington, D.C. I helped to start PHRE back in 2017 when I started to think about the sort of whiteness of our scene and sort of how that played out in my own racial equity values. And I was today years old when I learned that one of my favorite Phish songs used to be "Roll Like a Cantaloupe Out of Control" when I was listening to Undermine this morning. So I'm going to go with "Roll Like a Cantaloupe" as my Phish song that they play. So I will kick it to Rupa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rupa Mitra. I'm calling in from New York City. I joined PHRE when it was just starting out in September of 2017 after reading Adam's article. And I saw the kerfuffle that it caused, and I felt like I wanted to speak up and say, you know, not everyone hates what you wrote. I think it was fantastic. And it turned out I was not the only one who thought it was fantastic, fortunately. I think I see from the chat that a lot of people agree with me. I think it's going to be free. I'm going to call free.
Awesome. KP.
Hi, my name is Kate Pizzolis. I am living in Boulder, Colorado, formerly of Washington, D.C. So I found PHRE similarly to Rupa through Adam's article, reached out and got involved that way. Was I supposed to say something else? I also think the opener is going to be free. So let's put money on it.
Let's go to Joey.
Hey y'all, I'm Joey Araneta. I am calling from rural Missouri right now, very cold. It's gonna be 7 below tomorrow. But my background is New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a new transplant, really excited about that. I found PHRE after the gorge attacks and got involved with the Facebook group, and then quickly participated in the table at Dick's that year. And I'm on the board. I'm the secretary. My prediction, I see a lot of people saying Sigma Oasis. I think that's a really good guess, although they may want to consider changing the lyrics to keep on your mask, or leave on, something like that. But other than that, I think it's a good choice. And I'm going to hand it off to some of our Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Advisory Committee members, starting with Claudia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Claudia Enow. I live in Chicago, Illinois. And I just learned about a minute ago that Joey and I actually have the same PHRE origin story, because I also heard about PHRE after the unfortunate incidents at the Gorge. And I also tabled at Dick's that year in 2018. So pretty cool. I am a member of the Bypoc Advisory Committee, and then I also co-chair our organization committee with the wonderful Kate Alley Brady. And I'm gonna go big because I feel like a lot of times for this song, you have to earn it at the show, or other times just a certain amount of time has to have elapsed before Phish plays it. So I'm gonna call it our pool opener. It probably won't happen, but it would be awesome if it did. And if we ever earned it, I feel like these past 2, or well, 1 year, but presumably 2. Yeah, that'll be it. So I'd like to call on Raj.
Thanks, Claudia. Hi, everyone. My name is Raj Mitra. I live currently in Seattle, Washington. I've been seeing Phish since '95, and in 2017, read that article, as many of you did, and wanted to get involved after seeing such negative reactions to it. I don't know why I'm laughing at that, but anyways, and I wanted to. Oh, my prediction for the first song. It's got to be Dinner and a Movie. I mean, it's a short little number. It's a reference to what we've been doing in quarantine. I just feel like that's got to be the opener. Who do I kick it to? Is there, I don't, who else is on the list?
Shanae is
Shanae.
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shanae. I am from Baltimore, Maryland. I found out about PHRE in its beginning stages. I actually contributed to Adam's article that kind of stirred everything up, and got a lot of negative feedback, but a lot of positive as well. I'm a member of the BIPOC Advisory Committee, but I personally identify as Black, surprise. But you'll very rarely hear me refer to myself as BIPOC. I identify as Black, and I feel like even in 2021, a lot of people feel like the word Black is a dirty word, and it's not. You can call me Black, I promise. My prediction for the opening tune, I was gonna say Down with Disease, but I feel like that'd be a little trite. So I'm gonna jump on the PHRE bandwagon.
All right.
Excellent.
Malcolm, I think that's back to you.
Excellent. So I forgot to say what my prediction is, and I purposely did that because I don't make predictions. So that's number one. Number two, I also wanted everybody to congratulate Shanae on a momentous occasion in her life. I'm so happy for her. She's showed a big giant diamond ring on her fingers. So I really love that girl, and I'm really happy for her. So I wanted to throw that out there. To a dear friend. So with that, oh, you're welcome. All right, so let's move on in the agenda. So our purpose here today is we're going to celebrate not only our 2020 successes, but we've done some soul searching and thinking around our 2021 priorities. And we want to help anybody that's new plug into projects, but also if you've been with us and getting involved, we'd like you to plug into some of the projects that we have. So you can go to the next slide if you don't mind. So here are the outcomes that we'd like to have from this meeting. Obviously, we want to update you all on what we've been doing in 2020. We're going to preview and get some alignment on our 2021 budget and priorities. We're also going to discuss our campaign around police and venue accountability, and kind of come up with some action items that are assigned for each one of the subcommittees. We're going to familiarize our committees structure for all of you so that you guys can understand what current projects are going on and if you'd like to get involved. And then we'd like to get you plugged into something that you're excited about and something that you'd really like to help do this work. And this work is not work that's trivial. This is work that you can take back into your own communities. So briefly, here's the process and the agenda we're going to follow for this evening. We're going to review our mission. We're going to go through the highlights. We're going to review our budget. We're going to talk in depth about our campaign, and I think that'll be really enlightening. We're going to preview our org structure and how we get stuff done as an organization. We're going to break out into committees so that you all can kind of meet with folks that are doing the work in the committees and see if it's something you'd like to get involved with. And we're going to spend a few minutes wrapping up and coming up with next steps. So here, I'm just going to randomly pick on somebody, and I hate doing this, but it's got to be done. So Aggie, if you wouldn't mind, would you read the mission for us?
I sure would. Thanks, Malcolm. All right, the mission, Phans for Racial Equity, promotes racial equity and respect for difference within the Phish and greater jam band community and beyond. We strive to make our scene a more welcoming space for people of all races and ethnicities, bearing in mind the many ways in which race and ethnicity intersects with gender, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, disability, and other identities. We aim to facilitate education and thoughtful engagement, first and foremost within the Phish community, about race and its intersection with other issues, give people tools to build a more welcoming environment, and activate our community to make a positive impact on racial equity in the US more broadly.
Thank you, Aggie. So we're not going to go through the complete history of our organization, but we wanted to give the new folks an opportunity to understand how we came into being. So in 2017, Adam wrote an article, Phish Scene So White, Let's Talk. And it was on the Headcount blog. There was a lot of strong support, but I can tell you, and I'm sure Adam would love to share some of these things, there was a lot of backlash in our community. And that's a growing pain that we're all seeing in this country right now. We had very strong growth after the Gorge incident. A lot of people responded. We wrote a letter, an open letter of not only support, but just what I would say is outlining where we stand and where our community needs to stand. We also started tabling at shows, and our first show was Dick's in 2018. We had a lot of growth in 2020 after the George Floyd murder and the Black Lives Matter protests. And we actually had our all-member meeting during when that was all happening, which was a very kind of solemn time, but it was a very fortuitous time for us because we actually got to talk about the work that needs to be done. In 2020, we had our retreat. We incorporated. We've applied for our 501(c) status, and we'll have some highlights coming up next.
Thanks, Malcolm. So my name is Claudia. We just met as we were doing the board and the advisory board introduction. So I'm here to present just a few of the highlights we achieved in 2020. And Kate Ellie Brady has just pasted actually into the chat a link where you can see a recent forum that we had with some more in-depth details around our history, as well as a Google Doc containing the robust list of highlights. So you can kind of keep those and save those down. But some of the top ones that we achieved in 2020 include: we mobilized more than 25K for Color of Change, the Divided Sky Fund, and the Food Empowerment Project. We developed and hosted our first ever virtual retreat, and we garnered over 60 participants at that event. We gathered 400 plus signatures on our Jam Band Community Racial Equity Commitment Statement, and I believe we'll be linking that at the end of this event too, so you can look out for that if you haven't already signed it. We hosted a pre-dinner and a movie virtual table for the Food Empowerment Project. I attended that and personally loved it. I always love watching cooking shows, so if you're into those, It's a great one to catch. That one's garnered over 13,000 views. We launched the Lizard Liberation Library Book Club, and we finished our first book recently. And then lastly, we completed the incorporation application process, and we were able to fill the board positions with our founding chairs who you just met. And lastly, as Malcolm just mentioned, we're awaiting 501c3 status. So we do expect that to come through shortly. It's very exciting, and it means we'll be able to accept donations and they will be tax-free. So among other things, very awesome accomplishment. Next slide. And so next, Kate will be linking in the chat for you. Similarly, you can bookmark or save down our strategic plan. We're not going to go over it in depth tonight, but the bullets you see on the screen here are just some examples of what you can find in there. So it's broken into a few different parts. We've got our mission statement, the problems that we seek to address, our vision for a better world, theory of change. So that is to say what we assume about the world that makes us think the work we do in PHRE can achieve our vision, story of our community and our resources, and then lastly, our goals, timelines, and responsibilities. So again, that was just put into the chat. It's the most recent message by Kate. And with that, I will hand it back to Joey.
Thanks, Claudia. We want to spend a little time here, really, this is one of the most important things to come out of this meeting is really getting you all up to speed on what some of the priorities are that we've set as an organization for 2021. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming up. We've set some audacious goals. We've also tried to be realistic about what we can achieve as a new organization, especially after just incorporating. So I'm going to run through some of those here, but this is an opportunity for you to start to think about areas where you might like to plug in. And we will have some sections later where we expand some of these out. You'll also get to hear from the different committees that are available, and they will talk about some of these projects and some of them that have already been mentioned. But also we'd like to you to think about maybe some questions you have at this point. I know we just got started, but as you hear about some of the history of PHRE and some of our priorities for this year, we'll have a little time at the end of this section here for you to ask any questions that you might have coming into this meeting. So first we have our top 5 priorities for 2021. Number 1 is that we want to meet our fiscal year 2021 expense budget, including re-grants. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later when we go through some of the top line items of the budget. But part of the work that we hope to do is not just all of the amazing committees that we have and the work in the Phish community and the larger jam band scene and beyond, but is also to support other organizations that are doing social justice and racial equity work and support them financially as well to kind of continue the amazing work that's already being done. Number 2, we want to complete a branding project. So this is something we're all really excited about. We're going to have a new logo. We're going to have swag, which hopefully everyone will be purchasing, which is kind of part of our fundraising goal, but also just to represent PHRE and really get our message out there is really what we're hoping to come out of this. We've already started some improvements to our website, and there'll be continued updates there as well. But we really want to be this go-to place for having these kind of conversations within our scene. We have already started this process, but we really want to ramp up our campaign, and part of that is really executing a couple of different core features, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. But that includes a venue training for music venues, especially the more popular ones where jam bands perform, and to really get this goal of 50 industry organizations, venues, and other groups to sign on to a racial equity pledge. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We want to have another retreat building on the success of last year. The attendance was amazing. We had live music. We had representatives from the band and the sort of free community, various aspects of affinity groups and such. And so we're gonna have another one of those coming up. So stay tuned. We'll let everyone know, and hopefully we'll see you all there at our retreat as well. It's an opportunity for us to get involved in and do a little bit more of a deep dive in education work and get to know one another. So it's really fun. We also hope to have at least 2 fundraising and/or educational partnerships. So partnering with Water Wheel, which we've been doing, and a lot of potential exciting opportunities there this year. Undermine, having discussions and pieces about Phish and race. We also have been in communication with groups like Soup and Burning Man to collaborate and talk about really pushing racial equity causes in our sort of what we call white leisure, predominantly white leisure spaces, and trying to really continue that work and make those connections out in other groups that have a similar kind of scene. Okay, next slide. All right, I'll try to pick it up here. Some of our secondary goals, our membership lists and communication system to really make sure we're getting communication out to all the folks at different levels of engagement, from new members to our most active membership. Tabling, this is one of the most fun things. We've obviously had live tables during tour, but we've also instituted this virtual table model, and we have a YouTube channel that we can use to push out a lot of content and kind of have more interactive ways to engage as we're in COVID times. We want to keep doing some of the amazing content that you'll hear a little bit more about from the subcommittees. They'll talk more about things like the Lizard Liberation Library Book Club, Bouncing Around the Zoom, Dance Fundraiser, and some of the new projects that should be coming down the pike pretty soon. Let's see. So one really important thing to me, we really want to expand our BIPOC advisory committee. So that also includes maybe some of you that are on this call, some of our more active members and our new folks that may be interested in really being a source for feedback and guidance for our organization. It's very important to us that we center the voices of Black, Indigenous, and other folks of color. And so if that's you, and also if there are other folks in the industry, musicians and industry folks that fit the bill, we'd love to talk more about that and see if they'd be interested in joining and helping to guide the work that we do. And then finally, our affinity groups and other organizations in the industry, we really want to continue and broaden those relationships. And now I'm going to hand it off to Danielle to talk a little bit more about our budgetary items.
Thanks, Joey. Hey, everybody. My name is Danielle Swan. I am calling in from Tucson, Arizona. In the blur here, you can see a little 4-year-old. I'm home alone parenting, so just disclaimer there. Never too early to teach about Phish or racial justice. So I actually have been seeing Phish since '97, but didn't know about PHRE until May of last year after the George Floyd murder. I actually attended one of these very member meetings and got as involved as everyone would let me be. My show opener prediction is everything's right because it's not been right for a while. Living room dance parties are good, but I need some in-person dancing. Okay, so here's our budget. So as we've talked about, we just recently incorporated, and as we're awaiting our 501c3 status, we have, since we organized in 2017, but we haven't formally put pen to paper around finances. So this is our first attempt at that. Some of these numbers are aspirational or our best guesses. Some of them are startup fees that won't happen every year. So at the admin level at $6,700, some of those costs like filing fees and different softwares are just startup costs that won't be occurring every year. Next, we have the outreach and communications expenses, the biggest here, and that's over 16,000. And some of those things like branding and web design will be one-time cost, startup costs that won't happen every year as well. We have $8,000 in education costs. And again, a lot of startup costs here. Training costs, that's talking about getting a consultant to do the racial equity training for venues that we'll learn more about a little bit later. For regrants, we have $6,000 here, and that's where we will raise funds for other grassroots organizations doing the work. And this is our year one goal, but we hope as we grow as an organization to be able to increase that number quite a bit. And so for the first year, we're looking at just under $37,000 in expenses. Next slide, please. So for revenue, the first line here, we have individual gifts. So all of our founding board members, as well as founding members, will hold a campaign later in the year, will donate funds, and we're hoping to raise over $20,000 there. We are going to look for grants in the arts sector and in the social and racial justice sector, and the intersectionality of those two, and try to write some grants there that we will be eligible for once we receive our 501c3 status. Events, we have some partnerships we're looking at with Water Wheel and Bouncing Around the Zoom just happened a few weeks ago, and some other fundraising events. We are hoping to raise a little under $8,000 there. In earned revenue, we'll be making some swag that I'm very excited about, have some fan art collaborations, and work with some other partners to create stuff. Hoping to earn about $6,000 there for a total of over $51,000. Next slide, please. And so with these projections, that would give us a net income of just under 15,000, which is a bit of a cushion. As I said, it's our first year, so we're not exactly sure, but hopefully we will have taken in more money than we spend, and that can roll over and just help us grow. And that is it on the budget.
Thanks, Danielle. So as I mentioned, we have a couple minutes. I don't know if anything that we've touched on so far has triggered any questions for folks, but we encourage you to either use the participant functions. There's a reactions button at the bottom of your Zoom control panel. So you could raise your hand if you have questions. We also encourage everyone to use the chat function at any time to just comment, have little side conversations, but also if you have questions and there's other discussion going on, there are a lot of folks here that could probably get you a good answer now or later in this meeting. So if there are any immediate questions, feel free to raise your hand or pop it in the chat. Otherwise, we can move on to the next section. All right, I see Caroline. I'll go ahead and read the question. What's the best way to support PHRE's expansion and help spread the word? Is it telling our various Phish crews and other subcommittees within the community? Is it social media? Is it all the above? And what should our goal be? Building membership, getting more people to engage in some way, and if so, how? Donations? Awesome questions, Caroline. So I think it's a lot of yes and to many of your great suggestions there. And so I think it'll that question, which a lot of people probably share, will become more clear as we continue on, especially as you hear from the different subcommittees about what projects have been done, what projects are in the works, as well as some of our fundraising projects and goals and outreach and media, social media goals. And then what I would do, and other people can chime in, is encourage folks to kind of engage with what most excites them and or what maybe kind of skill set you bring to the table that you feel like you could have the greatest impact toward. And maybe pick one to start, but there's always the opportunity to collaborate with other committees if you kind of want to work on various projects that don't just fit in one of our subcommittees. Thank you. So I think just to keep us on time, because we're doing well, we can keep moving. And if there are any other questions, again, feel free to use those participant functions. I believe next up we have Ivy and Megan.
Hi, everyone. It is awesome to be here with you guys tonight. I'm Megan. I'm the co-chair of the Research Subcommittee. I'm in San Francisco. How I heard about PHRE, I had seen or heard Adam on a bunch of different Phish podcasts, and PHRE was always in the back of my mind. And I guess it wasn't until the George Floyd murder that it really motivated me to reach out and start doing the work. And I attended one of these new member meetings, and that's kind of how I got rolled into it. I'm going to jump on the Sigma Oasis train. I think that, thinking about the time when we can take off our mask and then sing that song, that line just like gives me all the feels. So yeah, super excited for that one. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how and why we got to where we are with this campaign. So a little bit about the how. In 2019, there was an incident at Merriweather Post Pavilion in which a PHRE member was harassed by MPP security. After that incident, PHRE engaged with the folks at MPP, who are lovely, and started a dialogue with them around having PHRE do some kind of racial equity training with MPP. They were super receptive and interested in doing the work to make MPP a more inclusive and safe venue. We were in the process of moving those talks along and the training forward when the pandemic hit, and of course that put the brakes on everything. In the meantime, those talks led us to thinking about how we could maybe do the same as far as training and make the community more equitable on a larger scale. The idea of this is to use MPP as a model for that. Now that we are hopefully seeing some light at the end of the tunnel where the pandemic is concerned, PHRE's reached back out to MPP to restart those chats. They had actually already started thinking about some of this work and were happy to re-engage with us. We had a couple of really awesome chats with them and have already learned so much from them. We really appreciate the relationship. Huge thanks to them. They've been super generous with their time and knowledge, and it's really helped us shape our approach to this campaign. As for the why are we focused on bans and venues to push for larger community change? We're a group that tends to see the same bands at the same venues over and over and over again. And that means that we're investing a lot of money in those bands and those venues. And then, of course, to the communities that those venues are in. So to be able to do that, we also tend to be a group with some amount of expendable income. And one of the best ways to push for change is to leverage that economic power that we have as a group. So we believe that making the changes we want to see happen, we can do that by leveraging that power. One of the things we learned from Merriweather is that we'll have more impact on smaller independent venues. Right now, we're not trying to go after Live Nation and other management companies of that size. So we really do see this campaign as a way to bring about change in the jam band scene in our community. But then to use what we've learned and the leverage we've built to push for change and police reform in the broader community. This is us bringing our mission into the world and pushing for change there. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ivy, who is going to go over some of our goals and tactics for the campaign.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Hey, y'all. My name is Ivy Schlegel. I prefer they pronouns. I'm based in San Francisco on Ohlone land, right down the street from Megan. And I'm co-chair of the Research Subcommittee. I found PHRE through Adam's article, like many others, and I got involved through a new member meeting after George Floyd's murder. I'm a strategic researcher with Greenpeace by day, so I got really excited to think about big, juicy, bold goals. For my prediction for song, yeah, I can't wait to hear Everything's Right. That song has been a rock through this whole crappy year. So you can see on this slide, we have these big, bold goals that we talked about forming our venue and security accountability campaign. So by 2022, we want to sign 200 venues, bands, management groups, and other industry organizations onto a racial equity pledge. And this is really intended to include policies, guidelines, and accountability measures. This year, I think as Joey said, our priority goal will be to have 50 signatures of jam bands on this. And then also by the end of 2022 to secure commitments for these tangible anti-racism measures at venues where jam bands frequently play. And then the third big goal is a later goal, but to support Black-led on-the-ground organizing to achieve fundamental policing and criminal justice reform and accountability that shifts from a police-centric model to a public safety model. And so this is sort of an innovative idea that we hope the first two will sort of inform the way we roll this out, but this would sort of be a city-based model. The fourth one is to build the political power of the jam band community by registering everyone to vote along the way. So there's a lot more information if you like numbers. It's all in the strategic plan that Claudia shared. It has lots more information, so you can click on that. Or maybe somebody can redrop the link in the chat so you can check out more. And then I wanted to speak a little bit about sort of our theories of change and then how they fit into the tactics. And so really this campaign is about putting our values and our internal work into the world and into a world that we're really excited about. And all these goals are intentionally interactive. So we believe by mobilizing jam bands to exert their influence on venues, these venues can in turn change security practices. Bands and venues together can influence community leaders, city councils, that kind of things, bringing economic players to bear in support of existing Black-led campaigns that can change policing practices or any kind of other stewardship elements that are really important to achieve our goals. So these all build leverage for the next thing. And through this campaign work, it's really important, and we are committed to remaining focused on how we add the most value to existing efforts rather than trying to design or lead police accountability efforts from scratch. So for us, this is really about keeping true to our values as a majority white racial equity organization to center voices and leadership of those most directly affected. So we really believe that learning and changing our own scene is significant work all on its own, and all of the work that the Phans should do should be accompanied by ongoing education, taking care of our own house and a shifting culture. So you see here to do this, there's a number of tactics. So each subcommittee has some tactics and will lead and do different things at various times as we unroll the campaign. So you'll hear a little bit about these in the individual subcommittee updates. And if you get really excited about any of them, that might be the subcommittee breakout that you want to go to later. But just generally, you can think about them as falling into two buckets. One is developing this racial equity pledge for jam bands. So an aspirational thing that these jam bands commit to, that when they play at a venue, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and this will shift culture norms. And this is something we're launching as a soft launch or internal launch on April 5th. So that's coming up soon. And then we'll start organizing and supporting fans to outreach to their favorite bands to get them to sign, and then later develop that pledge for venues. So then there'll be some form of research. We've already gathered a lot of research to figure out those jam bandiest. So it's a little bit of push and a little bit of pull, and kind of figuring out those strategic sweet spots. And then the second tactic is developing the racial equity training for venues, which Joy mentioned you'll hear more about. So we're piloting that this year. And then again, more venues might be recipients of it, some out of desire, some perhaps out of an identified need. So we'll be learning about all those things along the way through research, outreach, and advocacy. I think with that, I will pause for questions. And actually, I wasn't keeping track of time, so we should have a few minutes at least for questions. You can type them into the chat, or you can raise your hand. Dang, no questions.
Actually, there's one. Yeah, there's one in there. It says, is there an issue if the security is a separate company, not necessarily under the control employed by venue?
This is a great question. I can take this. So this is part of what we've a lot of the research. So you hear a little bit about this in the research subcommittee. But yes, I think there is, I think this is a little bit about influencing all the different things that go into, many venues, the security is a totally different company, or the venue is the owner. management, totally different entity. So we'll be figuring all of that out. But I think that's also the role of the bands as they sort of insist on things in their rider. We just hope that sort of, there's a number of factors of ways to make change rather than a linear method. And I think there's still a lot we need to learn about all the different details about security and that kind of thing. So I hope that answered that.
And I think the other piece is that I think some bands have their own security teams as well. I know Phish does. And so we're also working on reaching out to them to collaborate and use that as another avenue.
Yep. So this is the case at MPP. It's very true.
There's a question from someone raising their hand. Ben?
Yeah, hi, thanks so much. This is great. This is my first meeting, so I'm really excited to be catching up to speed. I had just two quick questions. One is, how can we learn about joining and getting involved with subcommittees? And then the second question is, I'm skimming over the plan and looking at some of the slides. I love the goals about, getting 200 venues, bands. But are we, how are we defining jam bands? Because just to give an example of an artist who I might consider jam band adjacent, but I think would be, obviously a huge get and seems to be supportive of the kind of stuff that we want to promote, like a Jason Isbell. Would that person, would we want to pursue someone like that, or are we looking to narrow the community to other bands that we all sort of typically know as quote unquote jam bands?
Ben, this is Malcolm. I'm just going to say that as far as narrowing, anybody that wants to get involved with the work that we're doing is on board with this train. So that's the best way of thinking about it. We use jam band and we probably use it overly broad, but really what we're saying is people in the industry at the venues we love supporting the mission that we're doing is who we want to be with. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, I would say that like the way, this is Adam, just to jump in and say that like the primary way that we want to do this is that we're going to have all these folks that have signed on to the community racial equity pledge, and we want to organize folks into like teams that would then, around their favorite bands, that would then try to get their favorite bands to do that. So if there's a Jason Isbell team, right, that there's like enough people, or there's like 4 or 5 people who they want to really go after Jason Isbell and like recruit him to be part of our club, then awesome, right? Like people can kind of self-organize and sort of self-select in that way. And then to your first question, that's a fabulous question. And a lot of the next part of the meeting is actually going to be oriented around how to plug into those subcommittees. So you're about to hear some elevator pitches from each of the committees, and the folks who are in charge will be introducing themselves, and then we'll give you the information to plug in.
Awesome, thanks.
So with that, unless there are any more questions, I think we can actually move on to that section of our presentation tonight. Hi, everybody. My name is Kate A.B. I am in Eugene, and I got involved with PHRE after the Gorge attacks. I was lazily calling Down with Disease, but I think now I am going to change my pick to Fluffhead because I think it'll be really great for all of us to scream horrible disease all at the same time. So now that you have an overview of the 2021 priorities and the venue campaign, we wanted to give you an idea of the structure of the organization of PHRE. You met the board members at the beginning of the meeting. Our board is currently also the founding members of PHRE, and it is majority Bypoc. Which is something that we have, PHRE has written into the bylaws as a requirement to maintain moving forward. We also have the Bypoc Advisory Committee, and their role is really just to provide guidance to the board as part of PHRE's decision-making process. The intent was to find a low labor way to center voices of color. So their role is to review, give feedback to the board on initiatives and agendas, whereas the other committees that you see on this slide are the ones that are going to dig in and do the work to implement the board's vision. So you can see there's three main committees: the education, the organization, and the outreach and communications committee. Within each of those are subcommittees, except for organization. At this point, it's pretty newly reconstituted. And so while there may be some formalized subcommittees further on down the road, at this point, organization is meeting as a full team with some leads and work streams for the charges that it's tasked with. We're going to hear more about the subcommittees as Adam was explaining in just a minute. So let's go to the next slide. Just a quick visual again of our current board, also the founding member. Am I frozen? I'm having internet issues.
You're good now. It
You're
was
good
for
now.
a moment.
Okay, ready for the next slide. And this is just a visual of the chairs of those three main committees. So in education, we've got Carrie and Joey. In organization is Claudia and myself, and outreach and communications is Kate P. and Malcolm. So with that, we're going to turn it over to the subcommittees and the organization committee. Each subcommittee and the organization committee are going to give just a 1-minute bird's eye view of the projects they're working on and maybe what's on the horizon. And then we'll take a quick 3-4 minute dance break to give everybody some time to get up and moving and think about which subcommittees they're interested in digging into deeper. And then at the end of our dance break, we will open up the breakouts and everyone will be able to choose which committee they'd like to go into a breakout with to get more involved and get more information. So with that, I will turn it over to Jason in education content.
Thank you so much, Kate. I'm Jason. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Education Content Subcommittee. We're focused on ways to educate the free and greater Phish and jam band communities on the nature of structural racism, both within our space and in society as a whole. Aside from general free writing assignments, including the upcoming Racial Equity Pledge we'll be working on this year with Outreach, we host an anti-racist book club open to the public, Lizard Liberation Library. It's a lot of fun. We recently organized Bouncing Around the Zoom, a fundraiser where talented free choreographers taught a public Phish dance course for donations. And then looking forward, we'll be putting on a seminar on the Black origins of Phish's music. That's going to be really cool. And then we're adding, hopefully very soon, a monthly anti-racist film screening open to the public. If you're interested in reading and sharing the Helping Friendly book, please feel free to join us, and we could be doing your awesome idea for a project very soon. Thanks.
Hey guys, Megan again, co-chair of the Research Subcommittee. So the Research Subcommittee supports other subcommittees in PHRE by collecting information they need to develop campaigns and decide on scopes of projects. Some of the projects that we've worked on include developing the criteria to identify the top jam bands and top jam band venues in the community. Something we're really proud of is we made a spreadsheet of the top 555 venues in the country. We're working on developing a landscape and power analysis of the top venues and top management companies, and also identifying existing local and regional social justice groups that we can support in the communities that these venues are in. So if you're a Phish information nerd, if you're one of those people that just love statistics, if you love spreadsheets and organizing information, if you work in the music scene or would like to know more about the music industry and venues, or if you just like to work behind the scenes, then come waste some time with us in research.
Is this Juliana?
Sorry, guys, I was on mute. Hi, I'm Juliana. I'm with the Subcommittee for the Education Training. This has been a great group. I've gotten involved with it. think I'd read Phish So White, the article. I know before I went to the forum shows in 2018, and then I got involved right before the pandemic or right around the pandemic hit. It's been a great community of people to get to know and work towards increasing education and training and so forth to diversify our Phish community. So right now we're actively recruiting anyone interested. We're experienced in vetting professionals, training development, facilitation, or working with venues. So if you've got any experience that you've had with that, we'd love to have you. We're currently focused on developing model racial equity trainings for venues sensitive to different needs and racial makeups of a venue and the employees within that venue. I know there's been some work with the Merriweather Post Pavilion. And then our major current project, which we've been working on for a bit here, is vetting and collaborating with professional facilitators who can design and deliver racial equity trainings at venues nationwide. And then of course, the last point I already kind of spoke about here was conversations with Merriweather Post Pavilion leaders as a model venue for participating in racial equity training. But if you're interested in education training, you've got any facilitation experience, vetting experience, we'd love to have you with our crew of people. So thanks. And I don't know who this goes to next.
Hi, I think that's me, Emily. I am zooming in from the land of the Osage, Cherokee, Chickasaw, and Shawnee people, also known as Louisville, Kentucky. I read Adam's article and wanted my anti-racism work to be part of my huge Phish life. I said sample, which I don't know why, and I'm always wrong. So I am part of the Comms and Outreach Committee. And in the past year, we got to work on the awesome virtual table and partner with the Food Empowerment Project. So that was a huge part of our efforts and many in this Zoom. We launched our YouTube channel, so check that out. And there's also a great playlist of educational videos on there. Let's see, oh, we mentioned this, but the video with the Food Empowerment Project is now at over 13,000 views. We certainly will look to do another partnership with Water Wheel and Dinner and a Movie in the future, but not doing it right as of yet, because we are going to focus on supporting the police and venue accountability campaign and see how this group can best be of service to that. So looking forward to working with research, finding viable local partners, and continuing to get people to sign the commitment letter, as well as build on partnerships in the jam band community and the broader music community. Lots of amazing members of this group. Would love for you to join us.
Hi, everybody. I'm Charmaine. I'm zooming in from Greenville, South Carolina. I'm definitely on the Sigma Oasis, and maybe everything's right. 6 of one, half dozen the other. I think both would be great. So I'm part of the branding subcommittee, also part of just the overall comms and outreach committee. So our branding committee is going to be focused, our main focus is going to be, our main focus is going to be branding as we're incorporated, because we need to have a cohesive brand that is recognizable. So we'll be working on updated branding for the organization overall, including our logo, color scheme, fonts, all of those related things, and branding for our 2021 campaign as well. So we're in the early stages of brand development, and we're welcoming any and all new input and ideas. We're also going to be in charge of designing and ordering free swag like t-shirts, stickers, pins, hats, all of those sorts of things. We're also looking at some additional opportunities to partner with designers and artists from the Phish community, like some fan art things, hoping to produce some limited edition posters, shirts, pins, again, the same things we all look for when we're on lot, for fundraising and for special events. And so if you have a desire to help us work on our brand and with some super cool people, come and join us.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex. I'm zooming in from Denver. I am sold on the Sigma Oasis train. I work across the aisle doing venue training and digital content, which I'm going to talk to you now about. So we're in charge of FREE's social media, which includes our Facebook, our Instagram, and our recently put up Tumblr. Our responsibilities are keeping a consistent schedule of blog posts, usually one a month, maintaining our presence on Instagram and Facebook, and moderating comment sections of our posts. At the moment, we're looking for writers, content creators, editors, people who are social media savvy. If you love writing blog posts, we'd love to have you too. We would love to know any connections you have with any other social media groups, racial equity groups, education groups, Phish or jam band related groups for potential partnerships. Thank you.
Well, I think this one's me. Hi, I'm Brian. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I am a filmmaker and a film professor. My call for the opener is Glide, for obvious reasons. I think, one of the things that we're up to here is to create original content that we can use for a variety of different purposes, really to tell stories about fans of color within our community. So we've been a little bit hamstrung, as you might guess, by COVID and limitations on what we can do with production. But what we're looking for are ideas on how to coordinate with people in your community. So if you have networks of folks who are video-oriented professionals or enthusiasts, we'd love to hear from you on that subject. I think the part of the concept of what we'd like to do is to mix some fan shot video existing stuff from shows, from venues, etc., with original content that we shoot with fans of color who tell their stories. So we've come up with a list of questions to ask, and so we're hoping to move forward here expeditiously once we're all shot in the arm. So if you have other ideas on how to use video content or how to solicit video content, come and talk to me.
And the last committee that is interested in your help is the organization committee, and we are basically trying to keep the tires off the line. We have 3 kind of lead teams, workflows, operations, which is going to be focused around making sure we've got the infrastructure and the systems to support the work that the organization is doing. We're working on an operations manual. And we need to make sure that all of our incorporation and 501c3 requirements are met. There's a finance team that's going to be working on some fundraising opportunities. So if you have any experience there, we would love to bring you on board. We obviously have been working on the budget, and we'll continue to do that and making sure that we oversee all of our accounting responsibilities. And then we have a membership team that's working on a database to help us stay in communication with our members and keep everybody updated on, meetings that are happening and sending out newsletters and other types of messaging to keep people informed. So with that, those are the 8 different options that we have. You can see them on the slide here. We'll keep those up during our little dance party session. And after the music ends, we will open up the breakouts, and most of you, especially if you have updated, should be able to, once we've opened them, find the breakout button and then be able to choose from there which room you'd like to join. And if you haven't updated or can't figure it out, Randy will be around to help get you where you want to go. So with that, I will turn it over to Carrie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie. I'm in California. I am the co-chair of education and one of the unofficial free dance captains. There's a few of us. Anyone's welcome to be a dance captain anytime. So with my hat on as the co-chair of education, I just want to say we're calling in a lot of skill-based participation. And if you have no previous experience, you are also more than welcome to join any of our subcommittees. Your participation is enthusiastically welcome. And if you have specific experience that's relevant to those subcommittees, we definitely also want your participation. So with that, I want to invite everybody to get out of your chairs, stand up with me, and move your body around. Give yourself a little shake. I'm going to sound share. And I am going to at least I thought I was going to sound share. Well, I'm going to play you a song. We're going to have a 5-minute dance break. And at the end of that time, you're going to pick which subcommittee you're going to. So I'm going to start the song. Hopefully I can figure out how to sound share along the way. Here we go. So I want to encourage y'all to put your screens on gallery right now so you can see everybody and get your groove on. Just keep your body moving. Work out your day. Sorry, the music's a little quiet. You can imagine it. It's embedded in your neurons. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have for our dance break today. I cannot wait till we can do that again in person. I'm out of breath. It's because I'm up in the mountains. So with that, it is time to decide which breakout you are going to.
All right. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm about to open all the rooms, which should allow everyone who has the latest version of Zoom to pick your own rooms. What I'm going to ask you to do is try picking your room first. If you cannot pick your room, so you might have to, well, let me open the rooms now so I can show you how to pick a room. And so you should see now a button that pops up that says breakout rooms, or somewhere on your bottom bar, that breakout room button. It could be under the more button, something like that. But go ahead and pick the room that you want to enter. If you cannot pick a room because you have an older version of Zoom, what you can do is chat to me which room you want me to place you in. But please try to pick the room first, so the people who really need it, I can see who needs to be slotted into a room. Does that sound good? Okay. And if you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask. I can try to help you out.
I updated the other day, but I don't see.
I can see the rooms, but how do I enter them? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, there should be a join button.
It's not immediately intuitive.
Yeah, you might have to hit, like, there's a little blue tally of the number of people in each group.
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps moving.
You hit that number, yeah, it moves on you. And then a join button shows up.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it where we see the participants?
It should be on your bottom bar.
It should be in more. Try looking in the more. Do you see a little?
Yeah, most of the participants don't have a more button because they don't have as many functions, so they don't need it. But if you don't see it on the bottom bar, then just chat your location into the chat, and I will put you there. So, so I'm trying to do that right now for some people. Okay. And Adam, you can pick your room, I'm pretty sure. And if Juliana and Nick have a choice, they can let me know. Otherwise, I will just slot you in randomly, I guess. So, all right, I'll slot them into rooms that have fewer people.
Yeah, maybe branding, which only has one
Yeah.
person. I was going to
Should I
do that
put them
myself.
both in branding?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Hey, Joey, you having issues?
No, I'm bouncing around the Zoom.
Okay, you're just looking for other rooms to join?
Yeah, I'm going into all of the education committee, subcommittee rooms to just check on, make sure everything's groovy.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll be back.
All right, welcome back, everyone.
So can we get this last slide? Perfect, thank you. All right. That was so short, but I was able to bounce around the Zoom a little bit and jump into a few of those meetings and see all the amazing new faces. I know the last group I was in, there was a, they were in the middle of sort of trying to share information and get contact info for folks. So in order to streamline that, I just kind of want to close this out. Again, I'm Joey, by the way. And talk about a couple of things that we'd love for you all to get engaged in, to be able to engage right now and moving forward. So I'm going to start with the last piece first, because that's what I was just kind of referring to. So for those of you that were in various subcommittees and or maybe went to one breakout group but are interested in joining possibly others, we'd love to hear from you and love to hear what you're interested in. So if you just send an email to fansforracialequity@gmail.com, one, we can get you plugged into just our general informational email list, and you can find out about all kinds of things that we'll be doing and plug in there. But also, if you want to include, hey, I was really interested in that free search committee or in the branding committee, then we can actually plug you into to the meetings and the schedule and the invites and stuff for those groups to connect you for further engagement. Back to the top, we'd also love for all of you to sign our Jamban Community Racial Equity Commitment Statement and send it to 3 friends if you can. We're going to be putting the link in the chat right now. Let me just, there it is, it's up there, thanks Kate. So the commitment statement is there. If you could check it out after this call and sign on and send it to the groups and friends that you have that you think would align with that and like to engage. Also, as we've mentioned a couple times, we are now incorporated and we are applying for our C3 status. So if you are able and feel so inclined to donate toward our budget and help us launch our campaign that we've been talking about, we have a PayPal now. It's the email is the same, fansforracialequity@gmail.com. As mentioned before, we don't quite have our tax deductible status yet approved. So we cannot promise that this will be a tax deductible donation, but if that happens this year, which hopefully it should, we can let everybody know and you would then be able to deduct that donation. All right, So I just want to close out by expressing immense gratitude to everybody here. First and foremost, to the many active members of PHRE, whether it's on our advisory committee, on our board, the chairs and members of our many committees. As you can see, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and we accomplished a lot in 2020. I'm really proud of that, considering everything else that has been going on. And we have a lot of really exciting things to happen this year and beyond. And so I also want to express gratitude to all the new faces that I see tonight. It's really exciting to look out and see all of you and see your interest. And so we really look forward to engaging with you in the upcoming meetings and our upcoming retreat, which we'll let you all know about. And so in order to keep us on time, I think I'll close there, but I would love it if folks feel so inclined, you can turn on your mic, and or if you prefer, just pop in the chat and just, you know, say hello, goodbye, appreciation, gratitude, whatever you feel like expressing. And we will see you all very soon.
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you, everyone.
Peace, y'all.
Thank you, everybody. Great to see everyone.
You all be well.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
We're virtual. That's
Bye.
Bye.
Great job, everybody.
Bye.
I think he needs to host the next Bouncing Around the Zoom.
Absolutely.
You should have seen him on New Year's Eve. I don't know how old some of you people are, but dancing hard to that show from '95 took it out of me, and he was going strong for like 3 hours.
Carrie, what was it called? A dance chair or whatever? I think we have one right
I
there.
don't know, that just like came out of my mouth spontaneously. I don't even remember what I said. I think I said I'm one of the unofficial PHRE dance captains.
Yeah,
Because now I think we need dance captain patches.
Sign me up, I'm into
Captain and
this.
Tennille hats. Like that's what we need.
Charmaine, the swag committee now has another job.
It's a free hat.
We really should have named it the swag committee and not the branding committee to like get people excited about it, because it's the swag committee.
It is.
It's a really easy, quick change on all of our documents.
Great job to
You
everyone
ran the
who
whole
presented.
committee.
We finished precisely on time, which was amazing. So thanks to everyone who presented.
That is very impressive.
But Barbara, I don't know if you saw my message, but I sent you my phone number in case because I know you got here a little late, and I'm happy to chat with you one-on-one if you want some more time. I'll send it to you again right now.
Oh, you're muted.
Carrie, you were talking.
Okay, yeah, I sent you in the same chat, in a direct message. I sent you my telephone number and my email.
Oh, okay. I didn't get it. Did you register for this? Do we have your contact info?
No, but I sent it to you in the chat. Did you see it?
No, because
Carrie,
I got it.
I think if you scroll up, it should
You got
show
it?
up in your chat.
I got it. I'm gonna take a picture of it right now.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Which
Barbara.
is there a way to capture the chat before we close out, or does that happen automatically?
I think that it generally happens automatically, but you can certainly do it to be safe to save your own copy at the bottom of the chat, the triple dot button.
Ooh.
Or